Legit revolution in the Middle East might not be possible, because as soon as there is an opposition group, the U.S. is going to co-opt it and saturate it with crazies. To an extent, we've seen this happen in the U.S. as well. The Tea Party and Occupy Wall Street are both prime examples of movements taken over by TV propaganda and infiltration. The 9/11 Truth Movement as well was hijacked. A microphone is thrown into the face of anything stupid, and this has inflated the nonsensical while simultaneously marginalizing and discrediting the movement as a whole. Even the anti-war movement, which was once anti-neocon and morally opposed to invasion based on deception, got hijacked and transformed into fashionable bush bashing and reduced to slogans about oil, while all the actual architects of the war got away scot-free with millions of dollars in personal profits. The government gives stupidity and simplicity a microphone on purpose. Google gets saturated with so much Jonestown, Coke, and Soros, who pollute and control opposition, that anyone new to alternative media would be awash and lost in a sea of sensationalism and asinine fear-mongering, so much that they would remain completely lost. That's why, for whatever it's worth, I'm creating the RISE stamp of approval for books and films and sites to act as some kind of filter for people who don't have time to sift through it all. I've been in the game for over a dozen years. I've made my own breaking films about 9/11, the Iraq War, World War II, etc. I've written my own books. I've done my own radio shows. I've done every medium of media you can think of. I believe I've proven myself to have a nose for BS and steer clear of it and speak my mind about it. So I'm just going to give a little stamp, and I'll name some right now, but I'm going to have a list in the link below. So here are some quick ones on all different subjects. RISE stamp of approval for non-kookiness. Number 1, Money Masters. That is the best film about the Federal Reserve System, fiat money and the rest of it. I also like Debt as Money. It's a little shorter and easier. You can give to your less nerdy friends. Peace Propaganda in the Promised Land, about the media's role in the occupation of Palestine, how they cover for Israel. Buying and Selling of the War, it's by PBS. It's a great documentary about the war in Iraq. The Light Bulb Conspiracy, it's about planned obsolescence. Great film. Of course, War by Deception, 2013, and More Than Taboo, both my own films. Obviously, I don't think they're kooky. They are on par with those other films I just named. The first one's on 9/11 and the Iraq War and anthrax. And More Than Taboo is about the most taboo subject ever, and that's the Holocaust. Occupation 101, another great film on the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. Dirty Wars by Jeremy Scahill, go check that one out. Also, War Incorporated, or War Inc. with John Cusack. It's a good film. It's a fictional narrative, but which is rare for me, but I like that one. Slaves of Dubai. It's a Vice film. Real quick, watch that. It's heartbreaking. Jekyll Island the movie, the new one from Bill Still. If you haven't ordered that, you might want to get a hold of that. And if you're into history and hidden history and mysteries and things, get Wally Wellington's little DVD about how he built Stonehenge and how the pyramids could have been built. It was really cool, interesting. As for books, of course, Why Peace? I'm here. Welcome to USSA. And my own books, I'll have some more later. History from the Losing Side is another good one. A lot of David Irving's books are great. Hitler's War would be the first one I get out of that. A little British bias, but it's a good book. Blackwater, The Rise of the Mercenary State, that's an excellent book. Godfather of the Kremlin, on Boris Berezovsky, who's dead, haha. That's still an excellent read, and really lets you understand the fall of the Soviet Union so much better than this BSO, they got an arms race with Reagan, that is just crap. In the Fed by Ron Paul, also great. There are too many books, so see the link below. But those are some films, political films. I'm only just talking about political films and books. I really want you to think about how the Middle East can have a legit revolution when the U.S. is always going to take it over and support their own despotic monarchs and their own religious fanatics, be they Al-Qaeda Muslims or the Zionists, who are very closely tied to one another. They always support the craziest of every element of any religion. And as long as they're toeing the line for U.S. interests, doesn't matter if it's Bahrain or Saudi Arabia or whoever, they'll get the support from the United States. They pulled the whole "don't throw me in the briar patch" thing with the Muslim Brotherhood and Morsi over Mubarak, just changing one puppet for another. But of course they have to go, oh no, don't give us the Muslim Brotherhood. But the CIA's had a long-lasting relationship with the MB for many decades. But the revolution is still pushing on in Egypt. That's about the only way it can happen, is if you have 8 million people show up in the streets. Then they've lost it. But when you have these groups like Tea and Wall Street and stuff, that's not going to work. The Teocons took over the Tea Party. And Occupy Wall Street got infiltrated by a bunch of commies and just loser airhead types that they just tainted it. And it's still a mixed bag, and there's still people in the Tea Party too who are cool, but by and large those movements are awash. They've been ruined by COINTELPRO. If you think that's bad, look at Syria. The very, very beginning groups that wanted reform, they're lost. Forget about that. You better be cheering for Assad now, because the groups the U.S. is backing and the Zionists and Turks are backing are the Al-Nusra Front, Al-Qaeda, these Wahhabi extremist Sharia law toting types that stone women and all that. You don't want any of that. But that, right now, that's who's fighting in Syria. That is the bulk of the people, the mercenaries, murdering people, slitting throats, eating hearts, killing babies, using chemical weapons. Those are the terrorists. Those are the FSA. That's who the Zionists are supporting. Israel's even bombing buildings on their behalf. Assad's turning it around. He's starting to win. But it just goes to show how hard it is to create an opposition group. When you see it go very quickly, like Coney 2012 or Free Tibet in 2008, when you see it rise so quickly like that, then you know it's either Koch brother or Soros or Jonestown, one of those handlers, one of those intermediaries, usually between government or intelligence agencies and the press and the public. Don't fall for it.